I've been using the iPhone Air for 2 weeks now, and there's just one deal breaker I cannot get past. So at the end of this video, I'm gonna head on over to Apple and just return it. But I'm skipping way ahead. Let me back up. Of course, there are great things about this phone. Most of all, how ridiculously thin and light it feels, yet so very solid. But that does not make up for the reason I'm going to be returning it. And it's like 6 on the last day I can return this phone, and I'm going to have to hurry along with this video if I'm going to get my $1,000 back, Okay, so some context, I got the iPhone 17 Pro also. The plan was to keep the 17 Pro and the Air and then return the 15 Pro Max I'm using to record right now. But now that I've been using this phone for a bit, I'm thinking I'm gonna keep the 17 Pro, my 15 Pro Max, and return the Air. You see, I daily drove this phone. I took so many pictures from it. I even handed it to like random people and just tried to get, the reactions and understand, put myself in their head. And I even dropped it one time without a case on and not a scratch, which is insane. This thing is legit. There are 3 big things that stood out for me in this phone, which would be form, cameras, and size. Let me go more in depth into all of them. And at this point, I'm going to start looking over there because, again, I don't have a lot of time. I gotta go return this and have some notes. So I really think that they prioritize form over function in this phone. Thin means it has a significantly smaller battery. You probably heard that the battery pack that they're selling with this has the exact same battery and you still only get 65% boost from it. It's a whole thing. But thin doesn't mean thin throughout. As you can see, that camera bump does raise significantly higher. Realistically, it's not a big bother because of where your hand naturally sits and it's under the bump. And I even took some footage of it next to an iPhone 7, which was the second thinnest iPhone to ever come out before the Air was released. And you can see it is significantly thinner, but when it comes to the camera bump, well, not really. But yeah, even after 2 weeks, it is still very impressive to hold and to use. Like every single time I pick it up, I feel like it's so airy, it's so thin, it's so light. I love holding it in my hand. It surprises me every single time. I mean, if I had to summarize, picking it up honestly feels airy. Sorry about whatever. And like I said, I handed it to random people. Anyone who would hold it would say stuff like, wow, insane, so thin, feels so good. How is it so light? Feels fragile. I got a lot of those. Take it back because I feel like I'll drop it because it's so like light. They almost feel like they're gonna lose track of it while they're still holding on to it, which was quite funny. But coming on to my problem with the phone as far as form is concerned, the phone doesn't exactly die at the end of the day for me when I use it, but it gets dangerously low. There's an ambulance. You see, when I first got my 15 Pro Max, I set the battery limit to 80%, so it would only ever charge up till that point. I changed the higher setting to 85% a few months ago, and because of all of this, the battery health on my phone is still at 93% after 2-ish years of use. And same with the 17 Pro. The second I got it, the first thing I changed was set the charge limit to 80%, and it never really falls below 20%. And as for the Air, I never set a limit, so it goes up to 100% every single time, and it still falls below 20% by the end of the day. What does this mean? The fact that it's not quite dying, but it's close. The battery health will degrade significantly faster because it's going under 20 a lot more often, and also I'm charging it over 80%, and those cycles, they add up. And then falling under 20 now means the second the battery health takes a dive, which should be in about a year-ish, because again, there's no limit, it'll probably start dying on me outright at the end of days, which is not ideal. Even though the 17 Pro is going to be my daily driver, the fact that this might die if I choose to daily drive it on any random day is not ideal. Now let's move on to cameras. Actually, correction, just one camera. I'm obviously not, counting the front-facing camera. One lens for $1,000 is a very tough sell. A tough sell that only Apple can pull off, I guess. But is it as good? Like the one camera that they have, is it as good? Sure, but the phone keeps heating up so very fast. Performance takes a hit at that point, of course. I don't necessarily care about it lacking a telephoto lens. The telephoto lens is good to have, but it's not a big deal for me personally. I do care about ultra wide, the 0.5x though. It is so very important because you can capture things more intimately. Like sometimes I can get up close to the camera. This is at 1 times, but if I were to like really come close, 0.5 is just so much, it's just so much better. Feels more personalized. Sometimes you want that. Sometimes you actually can't stand farther if you're taking some footage at, like, let's say a concert or some party or something. Maybe there's no space to back up. And the fact that we've had ultra wides for so long and we know that it's an unlock basically. We've already experienced it. We know it's a thing, and then this doesn't have it. Macro photography, you just can't do that with the Air. And there's so much more I can't think of, I'm sure. If you know any, just leave it in the comments. But the point is, losing a telephoto from the Pro is not that big of a deal because it is cheaper than the Pro. But then losing an ultra wide from the 17 base, while it's more expensive, well, that just doesn't make sense to me. I get it, like it was supposed to be like a thin phone and everything, and in doing so, you gotta get rid of a lot of things so that all the tech outside of the battery fits in there. But then, is it worth the $1,000? I'm just gonna move on to the last thing, size, before, my conclusion or whatever. This phone is thin, but the screen size is bigger than the base 17 and the 17 Pro. Like I said, I had been using my 15 Pro Max for the longest time, and I love the big screen size. Pro Maxes, Plus phones. I've never had a Plus phone, but like I just like the big size, and I want it even bigger. So the 16 Pro Max or the 17 Pro Max now would have been even bigger than my 15 Pro Max. I still decided to get the smaller Pro. Why? When I shoot videos and stuff, the bigger phone was not always as convenient to work with. There was more battery life for sure, but being able to fit it into some tripods was sometimes a hassle. Having some people just couldn't hold it properly sometimes if I asked them to shoot me, stuff like that, And it was surprising how fast I got used to the smaller form factor of the 17 Pro. According to my plan, as of now, if I do return this, I'm still going to retain my 15 Pro Max because it's going to be my camera now. And yeah, the Air was just supposed to be my bigger phone I carried around, and my 15 Pro Max is still bigger though, even though like the screen I think is better. Is the 15 Pro Max capped at 2000 nits, something like that. But my 15 Pro Max is still overall more capable with, the extra cameras and better battery life, better heat dissipation, stuff like that. So the size thing also kind of falls apart. So yeah, there are a bunch of small issues, but there are always going to be trade-offs in any new tech, right? So what's the one big thing I can't get past? Well, it's the price tag. We're paying more for new kind of experimental tech because it's the first time they're rolling anything out like this. So many small trade-offs have come together to just have a phone that is thin, and then you still have to pay $200 more than the base 17, which I should mention is the best value for money iPhone that has come out in the last 4 or 5 years, something like that, according to me. I'll talk about it later in some other video, I'm sure. But anyway, it's $200 more than the base. I just can't justify to myself to accept so many small trade-offs for a higher price tag. So many people and friends, when they see me have the Air, they will ask me about it, and I always have good things to say because it is very honestly so innovative and such a cool piece of tech. But then at the end of the conversation, if they ask me, should they get the Air? I just always say no. There's not a single person I would recommend this phone to, because realistically, most people only ever buy one phone. So this should not be the one phone that you have by any means. So if I can't recommend it to them, would I recommend it to me? Is the question I started asking myself. The answer is no. And now that I've talked about all of this kind of sort of in depth, I really gotta head out soon because otherwise I'm screwed. It's the last day I can return the phone, So let me just wipe it up real quick and box it up, and we'll be all ready to head out.